The Heroes and the Hidden by Kitty Quat on AO3. Episode 8. Chapter 8. Good easily fades away. Izuku stares at the back of Tsukauchi's head as he drives away from the station. 2 days. It's been 2 days since he's killed his mom. 2 days since he's got his curse. It's too soon. He wants to go home. He wants to see his mom. But his home is now a crime scene. And then it is to be sold. An officer had gathered Izuku's stuff, so he wouldn't have to go back. He grips the bag of his clothes and notebooks tightly. He couldn't take a lot with him, so he had to choose. He had all his notebooks and what clothes he could fit. He didn't take any of his All Might merch. He didn't want to look at him. Monster! He watches as the buildings pass by as Tsukauchi drives to his new house. It should have taken longer, but Tsukauchi wanted him to get settled into a permanent spot quickly. That is what he claimed, at least. Maybe he just wants to get rid of him. He is an orphan. That's what Tsukauchi told him. These people would watch him so he could live a normal life. He didn't feel normal. He wanted to stay with Tsukauchi and Midnight. They were nice. But they had to work, and he needed a normal life. He didn't want that. Izuku? Tsukauchi calls, startling Izuku. You're scratching again, he says, glancing at Izuku through the rearview mirror. Sorry, he murmurs, putting his hands under his legs so he can't scratch. He doesn't understand why he can't scratch. It doesn't hurt him, but it makes Tsukauchi sad, so he won't. Don't worry, kid. Tsukauchi says encouragingly. This house is good. Mm-hmm. It's all Izuku murmurs before turning out the window. His mama was good. No one can be that good. He knows that he should try, but he's done trying. Trying is what got his mother killed. Maybe if he stops trying, he won't hurt anyone. That's what Kachan tells him to do, right? We're here, Izuku. Tsukauchi says, shifting the car to park. Are you ready? Izuku nods, grabbing his bag and clutching it close to his chest. Tsukauchi would be sad if he stopped trying. So would Midnight. But did they care? Or did they just want him to think that? Maybe they were just doing their jobs. Maybe they weren't nice. Like the teachers at school. They didn't care. The adults didn't care. Hey, Izuku. Naomasa touched Izuku's hands gently. He was scratching again and murmuring. I care. I promise I care. He says, rubbing his thumb over the kid's hand. Izuku looks at him blankly before nodding. The boy's eyes are so empty, but there's nothing Naomasa can do to help, and it makes him so upset. This is why the law needs to be better, so kids don't go through this. That's what he and Toshinori fight for, to protect innocent kids like this. Let's head inside, kid, he says, taking Izuku's hands in his. It's so small. Izuku's other hand tightens on his bag as he guides him to the front door. The house isn't small, which makes sense for the group home. The kid ages range from 16 down to Izuku as the youngest. The one closest to his age is only a few days older than him. Naomasa hopes that they could find some similarities between the kids. Knocking on the door, Naomasa could feel Izuku's hands tighten on his own. The kid didn't have any recognizable emotions on his face, but his hand shook in Naomasa's. He was nervous. The door opened slowly, still startling the kid. A kind-looking woman smiled at the two of them as she introduced herself. You must be Detective Tsukauchi and Izuku Midoriya? The kid squeezed his hand tighter at the surname. My name is Haruta Honda, and I'll be one of your guardians. She beckons him inside to the living room, smiling softly at Izuku. The living space is large, fitting a big TV and 2 couches. Naomasa can see the decent-sized kitchen and large dining table as well. It looks more like a conference table, however. The common room is filled with 3 different kids and an older gentleman who smiles at them. This is my husband, Haruto Honda, and 3 of your foster siblings, Midoriya. Miss Honda says, gesturing her hand to the small group. Izuku tucks himself behind Namayasa's leg as he looks around. It all seems so perfect. One of the kids is sitting next to Mr. Honda, staring at Naomasa. His stare is so intense that he even wants to squirm. Another sits on the floor quietly, reading a book, her purple hair looking very disheveled. The third is sitting on the couch, drawing in a notebook, biting his bottom lip. It's so silent. Welcome, Midoriya, Mr. Honda says, standing up off the couch and walking to greet them. The child who was near him scrambles to on the floor. Mr. Honda has 2 and needs stick-ups from his head. Haru Honda. Quirk. Anti-flare. The user has his attendee as an extra set of appendages wrapping around objects. Hatura Honda. Quirk. Air cage. The user can create an air barrier that can trap individuals into a small, soundproof box. Naomasa had pulled up their quirks while researching them. Glad to see they weren't anything like Inko's magnetism or Hizashi's fire breathing. That may have been a deal breaker for this. We're excited to have you in our home, Mr. Honda says, his hand outstretched to Izuku, who just pushes further behind Naomasa. He's still a little shy, as you can imagine, Naomasa says, letting Izuku hide behind him. Do you mind if I can discuss some things with you, in private, away from little ears? Of course, detective, Mrs. Honda says, waving her hand. The kids race up the stairs that, practically fighting to get first. I need you to go join the other kids, okay, Izuku? Naomasa crouches down, grabbing Izuku's hands tightly. Go see your new room, okay? Izuku nods, letting go of Namayasa's hands, to grip his bag tighter and run up the stairs after the other kids. Naomasa didn't want him. That's why he was here. He had to stay with these strange people, even though he didn't want to. He shook his head, trying to look around for the kids. They weren't in the hallways anymore. He glanced around, frightened. Where was everyone? Suddenly he got pulled into a room by one of the kids, the door shutting slowly behind him. There were 4 kids in here, one more than downstairs. Izuku watched them all stare at him, raising his bag higher to block his face. Why did they just stare? Izuku Midoriya, one of the teenagers said, looking at him carefully. It was the one who wasn't downstairs. She was seated in her bed, her legs dangling over the side limply. He stiffened, nodding slowly. She sighed, shaking her head. Poor kid. You're stuck here now. She frowned at him. Name's Makio. Quirk, emotion reading. I can tell what emotion a person feels and slightly alter them. Her hand ran through her cropped hair. It's what got me stuck in this group home. Quirk means I change people's judgments. So I'm a villain, she says, blaring her teeth before chuckling at herself. Been here the longest, so I get the pleasure of introducing myself first. She reaches her hand out for a handshake. Izuku doesn't move any closer. She puts her hand down, shrugging. My name is Miko. Quirk healing counter. Another teenager speaks. His eyes are so blue, Izuku squirms. Think of it like healing points in a video game. He explains easily. Villain is to see how close someone is to death, I guess. Izuku tilts his head, slightly opening his mouth to say something before closing it. Next one should be Toga. She's stuck in a room, though. The chains don't allow her to go too far. Makito mentions suddenly. Izuku flinches. Chains? Makito laughs. Don't worry, she's not dangerous, as long as you don't get too close. She just wants people's blood. You'll be rooming with her, so... Makito gets her hand smacked by a younger teenager who frowns at her. She's just trying to scare you. Toga isn't that bad. She's a pretty good listener. Just, yeah, keep your distance. He grins at Izuku. Name's Nabu. Quirk, acid spill. I can dissolve through anything if I spit on it, including skin. Easily. Izuku nods, still clutching his bag tightly. They don't seem scary, but Izuku doesn't know anymore. They have someone chained up. And this, Makio says, pointing to the kid, who looks close to his age. This is Shinsou. The young girl puts a hand up slowly, not smiling. Her face has cuts on it that makes Izuku wince. Quirk, brainwashing. You can understand the one's villainous nature, I think. Hoi says, smiling, as Shinsou glares at her. Don't expect her to say anything. She's not allowed to. And you're a Quirkless? Nabu asks Izuku directly. It must be bad to get you here. Izuku squeaks, looking away from them all. That only makes them lean in closer. I'm Quirkless. He whispers. He could see every person stiffen out of the corner of his eye. I low-key forgot that Hitoshi's trans in this one. Like, low-key, I was so confused. I'm like, I wonder when they're gonna introduce Hitoshi. And then, like, oh, and this is Shinsou, right? And then it describes that Shinsou is a she and her, and I'm like, hold up, what? I was so confused. I'm like, wait, a different Shinsou? Shinsou's sister, question mark? Shinsou's trans. So I'm guessing this is before he transitions. It took me for a fucking loop. So fucking bad. Like, Jesus Christ. I started laughing. I started cackling. I was so confused. I don't think you understand. So funny. I love this. Okay. So far, I like this. I do not like this house, though. I have a feeling this is going to be an abusive household. They have Toga chained. Hitoshi's not allowed to speak. So something tells me that this is not going to be a safe environment for Izuku to grow up in. And Tsukauchi, you just threw Izuku here. I hope that Tsukauchi continuously comes back and checks on a regular basis to make sure that Izuku is in safe hands. Because if he doesn't, you lost my respect. Okay? Tsukauchi, lost my respect. Okay? You need to continuously come back and check on Izuku to make sure that he is okay. And if you don't, middle finger. Fuck you. Okay, I don't have much to say, so, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.